Yes, wonderful Father, we thank you, Lord, that you're the God of the universe. We just want to invite you to be here with us, Lord. Wonderful Father, and Lord Jesus, we know you promise you'll always be with us, but we want to invite you. You and the Father and the Holy Spirit are our special guests, of course. So we invite you, Lord Jesus, to be in our midst. And now, Holy Spirit, we just give this meeting over to you. You orchestrate it, lead us and guide us, and give answers to questions, and may people not be afraid to ask questions, and they might think, oh, people think that's stupid. No, nothing is stupid. Probably somebody else had the same question, or maybe more. So, Holy Spirit, we just give the meeting to you, fulfill your purposes, and we just, it's your meeting. We thank you for it in the name of Jesus. Amen. Okay, so let's look at the schedule for just a moment. I'm going to share the mission statement, and the mission statement that we have is that we will partner with the Lord and leadership to plan and prepare as a community and individually to be prepared like in the days of Joseph in Egypt. That's our mission statement. So, several, Adrian and Marcia, when was it that something happened when you two were talking together? How many weeks ago was that?
About a month.
About a month ago, Adrian and Marcia were sharing and praying together, and all of a sudden, something started to come, and then I think Adrian met with Mary and Fred Meter, and then they asked me to join them. So then others have been coming. So we believe the time is now that we need to seriously take steps. It's no longer theory. I think everybody knows that's pretty obvious. So there's action steps that we're going to be taking today, and this is just the beginning. So, and I'd like now to all those who've been to at least one of our planning meetings to please stand and give us your name so that people see the group that's behind this. And we're just your servants. We're only here to serve you, the heritage community, but you need to see some faces. So please stand up, all those that have been to at least one of our planning meetings. And Adrian is videoing this, so she's sitting down, but everybody knows Adrian. Okay, so, yes. Oh, give us your names, please, because most names are known, but there may be some people here who don't know all of you by name.
I'm Lisa Flynn.
Brad Meador.
Glenn Kramer.
Don Markle.
Mary Meador.
Eunice McNulty.
Marcia Saliga.
And I'm John Powell and Adrian Ferrand. I never did get how to pronounce your last name, Adrian, but everybody knows you. Okay, so, and you'll see on your schedule here that we wrote in need for intercessors to undergird this. So we thought about putting a plan in place, but maybe it'll organically come about, because intercession is something that wells up. We're all intercessors, right? But maybe God will lay on several of you a need to come together as I don't know if the word committee is the right, that's probably not the right word, but a prayer group, an intercessor group to undergird these efforts. And now, Randy Brown, our head of security, is going to address us. And he's here for us if we want to make proposals, a need for administrators for proposals. So there may be one or more of you that the Lord puts it on your heart to work with Randy to, administer these proposals. Well, Randy, you can explain far better than I can, so please, let's welcome Randy Brown.
Well, hi there. Thank you for having me today. What a great turnout. It's good to see all the residents, or a lot of the residents here today. So I've got about 10 minutes of your time, and then we'll go on to the next guest. Again, I'm Randy Brown, Director of Safety for Morning Star Ministries.
Can't hear it.
Can you hear me now? I can scream if you want me to. How's that? Is that better? All right. So my name is Randy Brown, Director of Safety for Morning Star Ministries. I just want to make that clear. We are a safety department, not a security department. Under South Carolina law, we have to be licensed to be security. So we go under safety. So if everybody could please remember that. But I here just want to speak a little bit today about safety and maybe what it looks like in the future. I know a lot of you are, just like myself, are wondering what tomorrow will bring. And we just want to make sure that we're prepared. So when I was asked to come to this emergency preparedness meeting, I said I would be more than happy to do that. I just want everybody to know that the safety department under my lead is here to provide safety in every area for the Heritage community. And so we just want to show that support. But before I go there today, I want to get a little plug out for the safety department. First of all, I would like to ask for intercessors to intercess and pray for us on a daily basis. I know that I really need that, and I would ask for that intercessory. We cannot do this. We can't keep everybody safe without the Lord. So we really ask for that and encourage that and welcome that. Second, I would like to just ask for volunteers. If you are in any way would like to volunteer for the safety department, please reach out to me. I'm looking for volunteers. I really want to increase the number of volunteers that we have. You don't have to know Taekwondo, or you don't have to be former military. You just have to have a heart to serve. And I'm looking for individuals that have a very keen, discerning spirit that can discern and make good judgments. That's what I'm looking for. And if you're interested, you think that you would like to serve, please holler at me sometime, and I'd love to talk to you more. So we're going to talk a little bit about how can I help with this, kind of helping you guys get prepared for any type of emergency. I think that we should be prepared for the worst, such as a well, think of the worst, war, right? What can be worse than war? So we need to be prepared for that, but we also need to be prepared. We live in a hurricane area, so just being prepared, just not knowing what's going to happen, right? A storm can come through. Joyce and I, my wife, we moved from Iowa, and here probably about 3-4 weeks ago, they had a tornado go through Iowa in the middle of the night, and it killed about 3 or 4 people. And unexpected in Iowa. One day it was snowing, the next day you got tornadoes. So we need to be prepared on all levels for anything. So I want to be here just to be able to help with that support. When some of the board members came from this committee and asked how I could help, I stated that I could act as an individual that could pass on information, and how I would like to do that. So I proposed that if there was any proposals that you would foresee that you would like when it comes to preparation, and that you would think that you would want to get going, then I would ask for a proposal. I can talk about that more in depth on what I would see those proposals look like. But I would ask for that. Unfortunately, my time is pretty busy, and I'm already learning that. So walking down the hallway thinking you can grab me for 10 minutes is probably not going to work. I would ask that you reach out. The easiest way to get a hold of me is either go to the front desk and see if I'm available, or you can reach out to the safety, everybody know the safety email, which is safety@mstarm.org. Again, that's safety@mstarm.org. Those emails go straight to me. So if you have anything, you want to reach out, you want to talk to me, or if you want to send me something, that is the best way to reach out to me. I think some of the things that we have had interest in, where people have come and talked to me about, is one is water. What if something happens and we need water? So we're looking into that. We're actually looking in what is the best way to meet those needs. Those are being looked at and addressed. Nothing has come to be yet, but do know that I am looking into it and being very vigilant. Mr. Ron Scott is helping me in that area, and so we are looking at what are some of the different avenues where, if it came down to it, that our water source was no longer available, what alternatives do we have? So we are looking into that. Hopefully we will have some answers very shortly on how we can address that. That was probably one of the biggest things that came to me. I guess I would like to speak a little bit just about fear. God's really placed that on my heart. We are God's children, and He is our Father. He is our loving Father. And it really upsets me when I see people becoming frantic and at a point to where they lose their daily peace because of the possibility of what tomorrow can bring. Now, in no means am I'm sorry, I get a little bit emotional about this because it really does bother me. First of all, in no means do I think that we need to be prepared. I've already stated that. We do need to be prepared. We need to be prepared for tomorrow, for whatever may happen, or for the next day, for a year, whatever. We need to be prepared. We need to be prepared as individuals, and we need to be prepared as a community. I truly believe that. But what I don't believe is to walk in a state of panic and fear that your peace is lost every day because of what you hear on the news, or what you see on Facebook, or maybe even what another person stirs up in you. God doesn't work that way. God doesn't work by fear. And so, please, if anybody that you know is stressing about tomorrow, that's a time to pray. That's a time to lean into the Lord, but not to fear. So I just wanted to address that. I think some of the things that concern me most of all when it comes for preparation is just the basics. Making sure that you can take care of yourself, even if it's just for a couple weeks, before help can come. We never want to be at a place where we're relying on somebody else. So if you can just prepare for the basics, and you know yourself, you know what you need when it comes to water consumption, when it comes to food. I personally look at high protein type of food when I'm looking at beans, things like that. I look at lentils and other type of produce that can give me high amounts of protein. That's what my body lives on better. I live better on protein than I do carbs. Carbs you burn very, very quickly, and you're just going to find yourself hungry again. But with proteins, you can eat small amounts of protein, even through the day. I've been on diets where I ate, 3 or 4 boiled eggs through the day, and maybe a couple of slices off a block of cheese, where I just will eat like maybe 3 or 4 times 5 times, 6 times, depending, but I kind of just like snack through the day. But that's not very much food, but it really keeps me going and gives me the energy. So you really kind of got to know yourself, how your diet works, and what you need. Some of us, not myself, but there's some probably here that have some medical conditions, diabetes and other things like that. So your body is going to need different things that maybe my body doesn't. So we need to prepare for that. Also, too, I think medication is something that we really need to think about, and I know that actually Nurse Sharon's going to speak on that, but I'm a big advocate to have a supply of medication to back up in case something happens. And again, it doesn't even have to be the worst. It could just be, a hurricane came through, and now we don't have the shipments of penicillin and whatever coming, and it might be a week or two. So those are the type of things I think that we really need to be very vigilant when it comes to. Another thing too is making sure that you have proper first aid supplies.
We are going to cover
And
that.
those type of things. I appreciate that, but this is on my heart. And so I feel that those are the things that are very important to make sure you have. It doesn't have to be in huge supplies, but just enough to take care of those needs that you may have.
Are we going to be having a alert number in case of emergency?
Those type of things will have to come later, so we can look into that and to see what we can do. I do know that the ministry has some type of mass communications that we do use right now, so I'm going to have to look and see how can that be utilized and what's best going to serve the community. Let me ask you this question. How many of you have a cell phone here? Some people don't have cell phones. Out of those cell phones, are they all smartphones? Do any of you still have the old flip phones? Okay, there is a few of you that still have the old flip phones. The reason why I ask is because with the communication system, that's how they work. Typically, they'll work on a cell through a text. And so if everybody has a cell phone available, that's probably maybe one of the best ways to communicate. Another way to communicate through messaging system is through email, and I know that probably isn't work as well for most people.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, folks.
Okay, well, we've got a pretty good introduction. Got a pretty good introduction here. So I'm going to ask Glenn Kramer to come over, and he and I want to share some basics, add a little bit on to what Randy said, some basics about prioritizing both each one's individual needs, your family needs, and the overall needs of the whole heritage communities. And Glenn said this so well at a planning meeting, I wanted to be sure for him to share it with you.
Thank you, John. I believe as I look around, I can't see a particular face or a single face of someone I don't love. And I think this is the love that the Father wants to have for all of us, for each of us to begin to see ourselves through the eyes of God, through the eyes of love, where we care for each other and others care for us. And as such, we enter into a new realm of community. It's not just a word, koinonia, or whatever word that's up here, but it's from the heart that we begin to live together in community. And what we're doing here, as those who live here in community, are wanting to provide a form and a way to go about our business so that we respect every individual's liberty and your freedom, and we don't want to impose upon anyone with restrictions or barriers to your living fully what God has called you to be and to do. But we do want to connect with each other in ways that will assist each other and realize that we are everyone individual. I can't see any two people here that are just alike, and that's Jeanette, myself included. And we're all different, and God has each of us with giftings and the rest of it. And when we were meeting with Randy, I loved what was said, that we want to respect this individuality and work it together in community to where we are that safe and secure community, that we are a campus where God reigns and where we are working together for everyone's safety, for everyone's well-being, and we blend our talents and our things, our whole life together. In that same context then, as we're looking at the emergency planning, we were looking at, and we had a beautiful brochure, but it was the same topics that were in the email that was sent out, and that email describing the topics of self-sufficiency, power, water, food, security, gardening, building a greenhouse, solar energy, intercessory prayer. And I got down to the bottom of intercessory prayer, that's all of us, so we got that one handled. But everything else on there, and in a meeting, I was with the sense, well, that we're talking about wind power, we're talking about water, we're talking about water wells, water equipment, and all of these things. And it was so clear that we had so many things to think of when we think of an emergency, whether it's 2 days, 2 weeks, shut down, where we're locked in together, whether it's a month or 2 months, whether it's a longer period. So what we began to do was to think that on all of these categories, which are those that are necessary, as Randy was saying, one of the most important is water. So we want to think water on a short-term basis, that we immediately have water and we have it individually, as our family, as our partner, alone, whatever. But we are thinking of ourselves as a self-secure unit for water, to where we have at least some water secured. And that brought up another problem. There are some units that are only a single unit, and you can hardly store your spoons and forks. So what do we do there? Well, that brought us into then the discussion that beyond our individual basis, we need to look at how do we, whether it's by floor, by area. Heritage community will have certain areas that are not common to those who live above Main Street. And so we think of different areas, so we begin to think not only individually, but in groups that have special needs. And we want to, number one, say it's all Morningstar. Well, Randy can't do it all. No matter how much he wants to. But he is a representative to the authorities that are here. But we want to look at what we would like to do. There's some things we can do as a group, and we need to identify those. There are others that will require special people with special knowledge and insight into, whether it's in electricity or one of these areas. We will look for committees to be formed to work on areas that are possibly midterm. In other words, beyond, say, 3 months to 15 months. In that midterm, if we have a longer term period that we could be in a martial law situation where we have an extended time, the needs are going to be distinctive from what you need with those protein bars for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So we think not only in groups, we think of locality, we think in periods of time and how to do it. We went down and we began to list which ones are short-term that must be there. And we said these things of for example, power, water, and food are all short-term, mid-term, and long-term. And so together we need to have a strong focus to where we're all on board and up to date in 3 months with those factors. And then be working on the extended time period. If there is an extended period that goes beyond that, what do we need to extend the power, extend the water, extend the whatever. And so as we meet together, as we consider together later and have open discussion, and we listen to some of these, be thinking in your mind that you as an individual, what do I need, what do Jeanette and I need to have that's individual, that's ours, and we don't want to make ours an obligation on anyone else, but it is a participation. And we don't want everyone else coming to our door for something that isn't really expected. We want to be prepared as a community to have places. And we want to work these in coordination with Randy Brown and his teams that will be working together for the good of everyone who lives here at Morningstar. So with those parameters, then we can get into the other subjects. Thank you very much.
So Glenn said it very well, and I just want to emphasize that in our planning meeting, we realized that each person here, if you're here, by yourself, if you have a spouse here, then you as a unit, you've got to start there. Have enough food, non-perishable food, and water, and those are the two, obviously, the most important. Water, first water, and then food. So we need to stock up from the store. We're going to talk later about other ways for the more long term about the water, and I don't know how many of us have heard Rick's, I think it's his latest rant. It was yesterday, and he was saying that we've got to store up for months for your family and for neighbors. Not just a few days, months. And Bonnie, back in January, Bonnie Jones the Lord woke her up, and he said to her, "The time is growing closer as to where you won't be able to buy groceries from the store. The economy is," again, but she cautioned, this is not to get you afraid, she said. And of course, Randy said it so, he said it so well, that, this is not but we need to pray, and so we must, the Lord told her, you must be prepared and you must warn others also. That's one of the reasons that I'm bringing this. I pretty much transcribed the message. There's more to it. But it's serious, folks. We got to start now. And to water and food and then the power. And we're going to be developing this as we go along. And I asked Don Markle, who was, he had his occupation was working in FEMA, so he's an expert on the subject. I asked him to add to whatever Glenn and I just shared, any short comments along these lines.
Well, thanks. Appreciate the opportunity. Working in FEMA, there's a lot of resources that are out there that are beyond us. And they're available. There's a lot of planning and a lot of research that's been done in the field. And I think we can tap into that. I can help guide us into lists of foods and things that you ought to have on an emergency basis. Within the community, we always said that there's 3 days under certain types of natural events and that sort of thing that you've got to count on taking care of yourself. Nobody helps you. Always have at least 3 days of whatever you need. If it's medicine, if it's water, if food. You may not get help for at least a week. And this is from FEMA's perspective. You should probably be prepared as a group to deal with yourself by yourself for at least a week. And that's just for the general idea of natural disasters, because that's what we primarily pay for, or plan for, and did work for. And then the cavalry starts arriving. So, I mean, things do improve after short terms if it's a hurricane or something like that. So keep that in mind. And what we want to do with most people, and there's a continuum where people exist. You can be a victim, that means you didn't do any planning, and you don't have any resources, and somebody has to come help you. Then you can be a independent, take care of yourself person. You're totally self-sufficient. That's better than being a victim, but you may need to help people or something else. And then there's a provider. You can be a provider or responder that you can help other people who didn't plan for themselves or couldn't or didn't have the resources. So you can get ready for that. Then other people can see it as a ministry. And there's ministries we can tie into, like Crisis Response International or Billy Graham's group, Samaritan's Purse. Those people have, Salvation Army has processes that come in and train us and do things like that. FEMA does it, and the state does it as well. So you can kind of plug in where you want, but the one thing you can do at a minimum is go buy some more ramen. For $2 you can get 12 packs of ramen, right? You can start moving yourself up the continuum to where you're better off than you would have been, and people don't have to come to you as quickly. And if you have enough water the last 2 or 3 days until we get whatever fix they come up with, if you can last for 2 or 3 days until we get back online, you're going to save yourself a lot of discomfort, might save a life or two, and you can help your neighbors a little bit. So it doesn't have to be huge increments that you move. Just, some beans and rice, that's what most people in the world eat anyway, and they last for a long time, and a little bit of water, and you're better off than you were before this meeting. So that's what I was saying.
Thank you, John. And now, Lisa Flynn is going to share with us concerning food supply, hydroponics, greenhouse, and freeze drying. So,
Our visual aids. Seem to be the right height for the microphone. Yay. Well, I got into this, frankly, I hate gardening. I've tried it before, and I've always thrown in the towel. I can't keep stuff alive, but when you start seeing videos of farmers who've been sent letters from the government saying to plow into your crops, or we're going to fine you 1.5 times what that crop is worth, at the same time that we're having shipping containers sitting off the coast, not able to unload, I went, I'm going to have to garden. I'm going to have to be a farmer. I don't want to be a farmer. I stomped around the house for a whole day. I woke up all night rolling over going, I don't want to be a farmer. Well, such are the times we live in. So I can't lift heavy stuff anymore, and I don't want to go garden in the backyard because I don't want to fight the deer and the rabbits and the bugs and all that kind of stuff. And I stumbled across hydroponics, which can be simple or complex, but there's several different types of hydroponics. Okay. Simply put, hydroponics is a form of gardening where you just get your plant's roots in water. It can be really as simple as this. This little thing is called a net cup. You can buy them online. Lost the rock. Nope. The seed goes in one of these little squares. There's a pre-made hole in there. You take it off, you put that little square in your net cup, keep it wet until you see some roots, and then put it in some water. And You can make any size. You want to try and find buckets that are food safe. So you're going to find the numbers in that little triangle on the bottom. It's going to be a 2, 4, or 5. And believe it or not, this little thing that had cement in it is food safe. Most of the buckets are out there, are food safe. And then just figure out something to support your net cup. This was styrofoam from a package. I just saved it back, cut a hole in it, and I can grow a head of cabbage. You just keep some water in there. You check it every day. Yeah. Okay, so the urgency, and this is not fear, this is just planning. This is, you know, your grandparents canned food. They knew better. They lived through the Great Depression. They understood times will be rough now and again. So you can and where was I going with all that? Anyway, it's just a matter of having something on hand. Once you get past your rice and beans, anything longer term, you're going to want fresh food. So that's why I got into it. Lettuce takes a month and a half to grow. Cabbage takes 3 months. Broccoli takes 3 months. What we have right now is the crisis. What I'm hearing is we're going to probably end up with those farmers that talked on their tape. They said it's going to be bad by June. And that was confirmed by a few other voices. I'm like, April, May, June. Okay? So now, you know, not panic, but just motivated. Okay, so let's get started. This is a very simple system. You get some nutrients. All this stuff is available on Amazon if you want to feed the beast. There's also there's a hydroponics store in Charlotte over on Wilkinson. So there's fancier systems. There's a thing called a nutrient film system, and I just call it tubes. You can get a pre-made setup on Walmart.com or Wayfair, and you just put in hydroponics, and there's just tons of different designs. The one I have in my hallway, in the entry hall, it's a 3-tier, 3 rows, 3-tiered system, has 90 holes. They fit these little net cups. I planted lettuce in every one of them. We have salad every day. Okay? So, you want salad for dinner? Don't you want salad for dinner? Yeah. So, we're going through, the political season. So when they've been elected, go grab those signs. Free. Okay, keyword free.
Free. Yeah, they're free.
So there's those. That's the tubes, and this where you just have water and a support system. That's called the Cracky method. Okay, so you can look that up. You can watch these YouTube videos. I've watched. Can't track the hours anymore of all different kinds. A guy named Professor Cracky developed that system, so it's named after him. So that's all that is. You can do the same thing with just making a longer, get a kiddie pool and take styrofoam or rigid foam insulation. It's thick enough and it'll support. You can put a bunch of net cups in that and float it in your kiddie pool. So just keep it watered and keep the dogs out or whatever, but you can grow tons of stuff. And it's simple. You just need a hose. So that's those two systems. So that's hydroponics in a nutshell. And like I say, there's 1,000 videos on YouTube. For me, I needed a greenhouse because I wanted to do something other than in every square corner of my house, the entry hall. And I have grow lights attached under these, and I have 2 side lights by my front door, and I swear my neighbors think I'm growing pot, but well, that's Farmer Flynn. So, promise I'm not. But anyway, so I have a greenhouse out in the backyard where I have something else. So I've got larger buckets for my tomatoes, and I fill it with perlite. This is a really light, it's a growing, you're supposed to mix this with soil to make it more arid. But I just use straight perlite, fill the bucket up, and then I have a drip irrigation system. So my tomatoes will grow in that. They have something stabilizing their roots, and then you trellis that. So the whole system, drip irrigation, there's a little outlet that goes into a tube and then back into the water reservoir. And there's just a pump, and these pumps are really cheap. They're $15 at like Northern Tool. All it is a fish tank pump. It pumps the water up, goes through there, and then when it drains back down, it aerates that water. So you just continue to circulate the water. And you leave it on a timer or just let it roll. And no weeds. it's no headache gardening. It really is. So I have a greenhouse for that. Mine was really expensive, and it took 3 weeks to get here. And it got here just at the same time that we're having the shipping crisis, and it came from Australia. But I have trees in the backyard, and the branches fall, so I needed something sturdy. But you can make a greenhouse out of PVC plastic and PVC pipe and landscaping plastic. The way they call it a hoop tunnel. And you can buy them for $300, or you can make them yourself. They're very simple, and that'll keep your critters out, basically. But that's if you have space to put it, and there's probably issues with that. But you can make a greenhouse pretty much anywhere. So then that's for growing food, but also at this time we want to start storing food. I started canning, and so I started canning everything that I could possibly get. But I find canning makes things overcooked. Personally, I think vegetables are overcooked, and you can can chicken and beef and all those kinds of things, and it ends up tasting a little chalky as far as I'm concerned. And so that worked for a while, and it's a pretty low-cost involvement. You need a pressure canner, but you also have to babysit the pressure canner. I mean, do you really have to just sit there and watch that little thing and need to turn the thing? I mean, I finally got a nanny cam and set it on there, and I want to sit next to the range for 3 hours. So anyway, that's pretty low involvement, but and you can dehydrate food and then vacuum seal that. But I find the best thing personally was a freeze dryer. You can get them; they're $3,000 for a medium size, so it's kind of a upfront involvement. The food tastes better, and so you can have canned chicken. There's a chicken breast, and that weighs 2.5 pounds. Or you can have this, which weighs 6 ounces. Okay? Which one's easier to store? Okay? Because with canned stuff, you're not supposed to stack them. Okay, so how are you going to find enough room anywhere for all of this? You can't really put it in your attic. It's too hot for canned foods. If you have a basement, that's great. But pretty soon you're going to take up all kinds of space. So I just found this was better. It rehydrates really well. Stir-fried vegetables, scrambled eggs, ice cream. So, other thing, now, you can buy dehydrated food, but the cost, you're gonna wanna buy your own unit. The freeze dryer is about the size of a mini fridge. The college dorm fridge is about the same size as that. They're heavier than all get out, so you're gonna have some help putting it up wherever it's going, because you want it at least counter height so you can get the trays in and out. When you look up some of these, like Patriot Supply and some of these other companies that are advertising right now, a lot of those kits, it's easy. You write a check and you get buckets of food and then you're good, right? Well, they're quite starchy, and most of their stuff has a lot of, rice, potatoes, and all that kind of stuff, which are, good if you need to get filled up. But if you want meat and some of this other stuff, and the reason I'm waving this around is they consider this one portion. A half a cup is a portion, and that's $4 for meat. So if you can write that check and you don't want the involvement, knock yourself out. But personally, I think that's kind of pricey for that much meat.
Dave Hurwell.
So that's pretty much it. Yeah, we've just been canning everything, so there's not that much. Yeah.
Would you be willing to have a class on some of this to help?
Sure, I can, but like I say, there's 1,000 YouTube videos, and I only started this last fall, but I'd be happy to tell you anything I do know. Yeah.
Thank you.
So just a curiosity, who'd be interested in going in part on a freeze dryer? 2. Yeah, there's another one. Okay. See Adrian afterwards, and then you guys can like get coordinated because it's a huge outlay. Now, freeze drying something, the medium size takes 4 of these trays. You can only have stuff that's the same thickness as the tray, so all of your meat has to be that thin, so you can't like throw a steak in there and stuff, but unless it's thin enough. And it takes 24 hours for those things to completely freeze dry. And the machine, Harvest Right, is the company I bought from, has a little read-it on there and tells you, you know, open the door, close the valve, put your food in. And then it shows you how far along it is, and when it's done, it says, do you want to go some more? Check your food, see if you think it's really dry. If not, open the door, and it just tells you as you go along. It's a very simple machine. It's not complex. So, anyway, that's it.
Wow.
Lisa makes it sound easy, doesn't she? We're going to have our resident nurse come up in just a moment, but I did want to re-emphasize something that was stated by one or more people so far. And this came up in our planning meeting. You know, many of us do have medicines, pills that we're taking. So, and then somebody pointed out, well, you know, the doctor, you can only have so many, you can only renew your prescription, every month, whatever it is. But I just felt it was important to remind us that that's a practical issue, that each one who needs meds needs to, you know, plan ahead for months, really, if possible. So God's going to help us, but we've got to be diligent to do our part. So now Sharon is going to share with us, as our resident nurse, some practical things that we all need to know.
All right.
I know it's important to talk. My friend Don told me about talking into the microphone.
Yeah, 'cause you can't hear me.
You just pull it up.
There. How's that? Does everybody hear me? Okay, good. Well, I was thinking I should have, after I was sitting there and talking to Lisa, I was thinking I should have brought practical because I loved, you know, to show, but I didn't. So I'm going to have you use your imaginations. This is practical for the individual. These are things that you might not think about, but I've done some writing out some things that you might need. Get a shoebox. You know, these kids that they have for $20, $25, it's all about the plastic because most of the stuff in there isn't, you know, it's mostly Band-Aids and a few other things. So for your individual, I would say get some Band-Aids and some Neosporin and have it in your box. And I know that the dollar store has Band-Aids and Neosporin for a cheaper price. Another thing that you might want to put in is cough drops and cough medicine. How many have gone through COVID and had to, you know, were coughing all the time and that. So it's just a practical thing. Another thing is burn medication, okay? And there's an aloe with lidocaine. Now the aloe is healing, and then the lidocaine is taking the pain away. So when you have a burn, that pain can be pretty bad if it covers a big part. Also, there is lavender if you have essential oils that is really good for burns and scars. Also, another thing, if you have allergies, to put something in your box for allergies, because spring's coming up and everything's budding, and just wanted to tell you. Another thing that I thought about is anti-diarrhea and things for constipation. It's just practical. I'm real practical. And another thing they were all saying about get your prescriptions. There's some people that have insurance where you can get 3 months supply. And I would advise you to get that and to stay ahead of it so you would have it. If you don't, then make sure that you're ahead, keep track of your 30 days. And when you get close to the end, make sure you put in for some more. Another thing that I was thinking about too is if you have insulin, if you're diabetic and you have to have insulin, I'm not sure about that.
We have
Because you have to
refrigerators
be
here.
cold, huh?
We have refrigerators that are on the emergency system. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, they would just get in touch with maybe Ron Scott, and he would know where to put it.
Okay.
Could everybody hear that? It needs to be repeated.
Okay, we have some refrigerators that run on the emergency
Power.
generator.
Now, I just want to address that really fast.
Okay.
That's limited. So
No, but
that's not for a long term. So that would be limited. That would only be for a few days off the grid.
that's why we need to get the power situation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Another thing was iodine tablets for a nuclear. We are fairly close to a nuclear
Reactor.
yeah. So you can get those on Amazon or York County. The time that we did this other prep, well, about 6 years ago, you could get them at York County free, but I don't know whether they still have them. Oh, okay. Okay.
Where do you get them at?
At York County, the down there.
I know it's 40 miles out there, so.
What department?
So you know that.
What department would you call?
But that's good, we can get them for nothing, but how much are they regularly,
I don't know.
They're not very expensive. Probably cheaper than gas.
I'm not worried about that.
No, I'm just saying as far as getting out there.
But I guess I would call the county,
Yeah, see if they got them.
yeah, see if they have them and if they're available. They were 6 years ago. So, and one other thing that I thought is a lot of you, when you have a fever or you have pain, sometimes you take Tylenol or ibuprofen, whichever you prefer. That would be another thing that I'd stick in the box. And that's pretty much what I would do individually, just to keep,
Yeah.
Is there any questions?
Well, we'll have a panel later.
Okay.
Some excellent pointers. And now Fred Meter is going to come up and explain about the WaterGen water source. It's just going to take about 5 minutes, and I had never heard of it until I heard it from him. Come on, Fred, and share with us what you found out. Thank you very much.
You were mentioning earlier that the water was one thing everybody was on their mind, because we can go 40 days without food, but 3 days is about
Speak in
the
the
limit.
mic.
I thought it was. Okay. As I said, we can go 40 days without food. Many people have done it over the years, and that's not a problem. We can only do 3 to 4 days max on water, without water, and be in danger real quickly. So the first thing that was on my mind was to look this up. I had read this on a deal some time ago that a company called WaterGen, they are able to make water out of the air. And what it simply does is it uses the water that's in the atmosphere. In fact, I think Rick and someone talked about that there is a water, called like a river in the sky that has more water in it than all the rivers in the United States. And so we can draw from that, but it also, any humidity is what it works with. It also has to be fairly warm. That's one of the drawbacks that I just found out just about an hour or so ago, that anything under 40 degrees, the machine shuts down. It does that to protect it from freezing. That would begin to drop on down. So during those times, we wouldn't be able to get water, but the one I've been looking at, the WaterGen L, it will do on a, let me find the exact figure. WaterGen, WaterGen. And this machine will do on a exact, like, and here it would be exact if we had a nice warm day and it was very, very humid like it normally is here. We can get, find the number again, 1,585 gallons per day. And that's what it brings. But as the temperature changes, as the amount of humidity that's in the air, we're going to get less. So, and the normal everyday under normal atmospheric conditions at 873 gallons. So you have a huge range here, but it would be enough. Now that water would only be for drinking and cooking, stuff like that. And the cool thing is, one of the things I like about it is, it's like 6.5 to 8.5, what they're called? pH. So it's really quality water. It's very clean. It is a little expensive. This machine is a lot more expensive than what I thought when I first began to look this up. And there's also some maintenance that we need to do to it. But I talked to them today, and they said you can do the maintenance yourself. It's not rocket science. It's very, very simple to do. And he said most anybody that can do it. You want me?
It's on solar panel?
Oh, it can be. You can put it on a solar panel, which is what my idea was to get a solar panel. And if, depending on where we put the machine, I would like personally, if we're going to do it, to put it inside the atrium, not the atrium, I said the wrong term, where the garden area is, simply because it would be protected. Anybody that would be trying to do something to it or whatever, it would be protected there. And we could put the solar panel up on the roof or on top of the machine if we get enough sunlight in there for it. I don't know. But we'd have some good quality water. Now, and besides the ones that I just talked about, the Gen L, there are
how much
others.
was that one?
How much was it?
That one's $145,000. Like I said, I just found that out today that would be that expensive.
Morning, so how many?
No, there's a whole lot of models, different sizes.
It's like almost like a refrigerator, and the upkeep is very expensive, maybe up to a couple $100 per month with filters.
Well, this one is $2,000 a year for maintenance, and that's all the parts and stuff you need. But the machine is huge, okay? I mean, this machine is, like I said, if you go with the smaller personal ones, for instance, the ones that I've been looking at, the paperwork. There's what's called the Jenny, and the Jenny is a small one that would go in your apartment. It's $3,000, and it does 22 liters a day. Then there's another one, it's called a portable, and it does 3,000 as well, and it does 10 liters a day, but you can move it around. Like if you need to take it from room to room or move it outside for a while, so it would get enough humidity or enough temperature or whatever, that's available. There's all kinds of these machines available. But the Gen L is one that would literally would be enough for everybody in this place to have water every day, and it would be quality water. Yes.
So how many liters of water does a person need each day to survive? One person.
Anybody got it?
Well, we're gonna have a panel later.
Now, I really don't know on that. I have to get somebody else's opinion on that. But there's a lot of water that would be available, and it'd be for drinking, like I said, for cooking. Yes.
You're supposed to have half your body weight in ounces of water every day.
Right. That would be optimal. But, I believe that in a situation where it's an emergency situation, we can get by with all this water.
Where do you order this?
I believe the place is right here in Charlotte.
They have it in stock?
That I don't know. But I'm pretty sure they do, but their main office for the United States is right here in Charlotte.
I think that there's a way to make them yourself, because when I was looking up companies, there was several YouTube videos on making this kind of a thing. I might be interested. Lisa probably could.
I've been told that water from a humidifier is not, you can't drink it.
I know you can't, but with a super, like, what Jim Baker advertises for, the bad lake water and all that, it even said in the model that I had for $5,000, it said it is basically, and it sounds like a humidifier too.
Yeah,
But
they
then
are.
there's like 5 filters that it goes through.
Right. That is what the machine is. It's a type of humidifier, only it's humidifier on
During
steroids.
panel time, talk
I
about
mean,
reindeer.
especially the one I'm talking about. It's almost as big as this area right here. It's a huge machine.
Yeah, you have to bring it in and clean.
And it's like I said, it's expensive, but the quality of the water and the amount of water that it would produce would be enough for everybody in this building.
Yeah, it's for 100 people.
Well, I told him that approximately 150 people. He said, oh yeah, that it would do that just fine. Okay?
Great. So now, we're gonna have, we already have
We should probably pass these
most, if
around.
not all, of our people. We're gonna have a question and answer panel.
Can you hold him?
And as you can see on your
One each table.
schedule, that everybody was supposed to get a copy of. So, there's gonna
Okay,
be,
we need somebody
are there extras of those?
Can you
Pass
tell
them out.
them if they have a comment or an idea, an interest, to write it on a card, or a question? And
Okay,
John-
where are these cards, Mary?
They're gonna come out to the table. We're gonna be passing around some action steps to
Okay,
consider.
So that would be at just later on.
Oh, you're
still.
not ready for that?
Well, the action steps are coming up. We want to have about a 15-minute question and answer
Well,
panel,
we're gonna have popcorn prayer
and that's going to come right after that.
after Larry Bird
And
talks.
that's the table time.
And Larry Bird is talking now, right?
He's going to be
Next.
he's going to be helping us out there on the table time. So now we're doing pretty well on the schedule, maybe 5 minutes behind, but that's pretty good. So from we're gonna this panel here, and Don, can you pull up a chair, sit beside Glenn,
Can Larry speak first?
and
And then,
well, let me finish, please. Let me finish the introduction here, so we get the whole picture. Okay, so we're going to take questions and answers, and then discuss practical solutions. As you can see, I tried to put concise little things so everybody would know what we're doing. Even there's such things as there are practical things about certain flashlights. And you all the things here, alternative sources of water. So these, and questions that you have, that's why various times we've said that this panel discussion. And Larry, did you want to make some opening remarks?
I can.
Yeah, I don't want to say too much, but I was really happy with what we have here, that people are volunteering, because we've had training here before for the last 12 years, and people have not taken this thing serious. And I think priorities have changed.
Yeah.
And I think we'll get some things done now. But the thing is, some people, I hope everybody participates. That's my prayer. Everybody will participate and do their part. And don't be scared. Fear is a thing that we looked at. It's not going to happen here, no problem. We need to trust each other. I don't know how much the ministry's going to do for us, but I imagine they're going to do something. We don't know what that is. But there's a lot of people here that have knowledge. And the knowledge is going to come across now. It's going to come across because we need to do something. And teamwork, yes, teamwork. Like I say, there's expertise here. There's people here that have done this for 12, 15 years. I'm sure that you're going to have some classes, individual classes, corporate classes. Even the ministry might have classes, but the thing is, we have people here that know what's going on too. And again, money. I don't know how much money we have. There's some people here that can write a check. Write me a check, Larry Bird. But the thing is, we don't want to get panicky, but we need to get this thing done without fear. And I'm not going to do it. I don't have time. We do have time. We've got to make time. And we've got to make time. If somebody asks me a question, it's up to me to get an answer, or somebody else that has some expertise, because there's people here that have it. And before, we can't take it very lightly. Like I say, we can't take it lightly anymore. It's time to roll. It's time to get something done. And prayer is very, very important. But application and be ready. Food, water, power. Anyway, I don't know what's going to do with power. We'll talk about that power sometime. But the main thing is, we've been here for a while, and now it's time to do something about what's going on. Hopefully nothing will happen, but the thing is, we'll be ready to do it. Does that make sense? The main thing is, I was kind of concerned is in the past, people kind of poo-poo this stuff and say, well, I'm not going to do it. But I think we should change our attitudes and cooperate. You got some fine people up here. They just asked me to speak at the last minute. But the thing is, we do have good people here. We need to do it. And there's some questions out there. There is good questions out there. And hopefully the panel can answer them. But if they can't, we got to get the answer to you folks. Everybody has to get the answers and what to do, what not to do, where to go, how to save money, batteries, flashlights, how to cook. I mean, there's all kinds of things, how to save water. There's all kinds of things that we can get out there with classes and that are practical and cooperate with one another and love one another and get it done. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay, well, it's good this mic has a long cord. So, let me see.
So we're going to open it up for questions?
Yes, I'm going to explain that in just a second. I'm
Okay.
looking around to see if there was anybody else that needed to be up here on the panel. But,
Doctor.
what? Okay, so we're going to discuss some that we've. Perhaps before we take the questions, is there anything that has been quickened to any of you that needs to be mentioned briefly before we take questions from the people here?
There's a couple of other water options. Rain barrels, they're fairly inexpensive. You hook them up into your downspout, and it diverts into a rain barrel, and then you have a hose bib underneath it. And so while it's not great for drinking water, it is good for if you're needing bathing or watering your plants cracky tubs for lettuce. And then also, I looked into, you can do the old-fashioned farm pump. You'd probably have to get permission where to dig kind of thing, you know, call the city, but you can go down into the water table and put a well pump. Now, I don't think that's gonna work for this community, but many of you have friends and family that don't live here that could put that on their property so that you can just go along and, you know, pump yourself some water out of the ground. It's, you know, drinkable, so.
How many people here water filters? How many people have them in there? That's good. We'll be talking about in the classes, right? Water filters are very, very important. And can we use that lake? We've got access to that lake. We can use it.
Yeah.
I have drinking out of it. It's good. The filters take care of that water. Please believe me. We have done that. Just so you know that. It's a water supply as long as that thing stays full. It's a supply doesn't play. You can do it.
Let me add to that. In one of our recent meetings, somebody brought up about this very good filter. Who brought that up?
Oh, that straw?
I'm sorry?
Is it the Seychelles bottles?
No, it was a different one. Don, yes, what was that? Tell us, because
That was cool.
It's an individual water system. It's called, what is it called? Anyway, the idea is they'll do a million gallons, and it's a Sawyer. You can buy them off eBay or Amazon for $25. And it's for individual things. You take a pack of water and you turn it upside down, and it goes through a little 2-inch filter.
Clean.
And it uses the same technology as they use in dialysis. And it'll take down 1 micron, which is basically even your viruses. So and the way you clean it, you just turn it around.
So what was the name of that, so they can order it?
Sawyer, Sawyer.
Sawyer. That's pretty simple.
On the Sawyer, I was on Amazon looking at it the other night. I went on the Sawyer site first, and they actually sent me to the Amazon site. And they got one that I like the most. It's got a bag, and it's got the old connection on the tubes beneath it, and it's got another bag down here. You fill this bag up, hang it up, and it filters down. You got a gallon of clean water, and then you wash this out, and then the next time, of course, you dip that like out here in the lake, and you hook it together, and it flows back through the filter, and you got a good gallon of water. And it's only like $49. $39 or $49.
It's a good one.
$39 a big one.
Excellent.
It's a real.
Okay, maybe we could compile a list.
Now, as we get into the question and answer, which is right now, I want all of us to be thinking our next and final phase to this, because we want to get out at 5. That's 35 minutes away. I know 2 hours seemed like a long time, but you can see how it's been one thing after another that we all needed to hear. So I want everybody here to be thinking we're going to be have table time after this panel discussion, question and answer panel, and at the table time in just a few minutes, we're going to you'd be thinking who's going to be the captain at your table, okay? There's going to be a captain picked for each table, and there's going to be prayer, and then we're going to ask for those that really have something solid. We're calling it popcorn preparation, a minute sharing from the microphone, you know, something that you're doing already, something practical. And then there's filling out cards. Mary's kind of in charge of that and discussing. And then the captain, each captain will report to us what their people at the table are doing or would like to see. Real short report, and then that'll be it. So you'll be thinking about that as you raise questions and you hear the answers.
Would you mind reading the questions right now? Yeah, he knows what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Okay, these are what we call, and we're going to pass these out to each table after the panel.
No.
Right. Yeah, we have 3 questions that each table is going to look at. Number 1 and you'll have a copy, there'll be one copy per table. What provisions have you thought of to supply for yourself and your family? What provisions have you thought of to supply for yourself and your family? Number 2, in your estimation, do you feel you have a 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months supply of food and water? And number 3, you see, these are real basic things we need to start getting ready for right now. Number 3, how would you like to be involved in the community to help? So we're looking for people that say, hey, look, that's something I really feel I could get involved with, and I could help others, not only meet my own needs, but help others. Okay? So these questions are being passed out, 1 per table, at least that was the plan, and we'll be doing that right after the panel discussion. So go ahead, Marcia. Okay, yes, that's at the table at the
black table there, by the door.
by the door. Okay, Marcia, just say that if you would.
I just did a little research on solar generators, and I wrote it up, summarized it on a sheet. So the flyers are right at that door where you come in. So just basic information. I think it's a great idea to get a solar generator, because if the power goes out, you know, like for this one company, you can get for veterans, for Patriots, $397. You can get a solar generator, and it'll take care of your laptop, your phone, small things. It won't do your refrigerator, but it will do small items. So anyway, I wrote up other information, so it's right where you come in. So I just wanted you to know.
Thank you, Marcia. So just be, we want there to be enough. We tried to make enough for everybody to have a copy, but for couples, just take 1, obviously. That's all you need.
Oh, let's talk about
And
can I say something too?
yeah, just said there was something. Sorry. Okay, so I consulted with David Herr about this, and I said if people who get a generator with a panel, solar panel, would need to check with him, okay, to find out what is expected as far as, so that when we're not in an emergency situation, we don't want stuff to be seen from the road, okay? So check with David Herr. I can't tell you what he expects, but we all know. So if you get a solar panel, check with David Herr on what the requirements. And then Adrian had something important here.
Oh, I just want to say there is something called Lucy lanterns. They are solar powered, $24 on Amazon. The older models, probably the better one to get, according to reviews. So there are things that we can start to do right away before we get the big power issue solved.
How do you spell Lucy?
L-U-C-Y.
Okay. All right, so now, here we are. We've got our panel. All right, what questions come to mind? And maybe...
If you have a question, they're probably going to have to come up.
Yeah, you're going to have to come up. This is long, but not long enough, unless it's the first few
And when
tables.
if they would address their question to the
Yes,
person
exactly.
that they want to answer.
Yeah, obviously, Adrian's suggesting it's an excellent one. Address your question to probably one person that you think would have the answer, and if they don't, maybe somebody else in the panel will. Okay, what questions do we have? Let me see if I can get this by. It's going longer than I thought.
For the solar generators, do you need to have the sun on it? Do you have to have it in the sun?
Yes.
Okay, I live in a community where I don't have the sun on my patio because there's a big tree over there and it's blocking my sun. So what do I do?
Yeah, we're going to have to solve the power issue.
One of the things you can do on that, I've been doing some reading also on the solar panels and for your generators. The generators that I've read about, they said you could charge it up before anything happens, right? Just plug in oil, charge it up, and it will hold its charge for a year.
Whoa.
So you won't need to go out and put it out all the time, unless there is an emergency crisis. And so every once in a while, you take it out and check your voltage, before we have any kind of a problem. And then if it needs to be plugged up, plug it back up, and let it charge back up. And then when the time comes, and then you need to put it out. That's when would be during an emergency, and then you do whatever needs to be done. But they did say that.
That's sure good news.
Yeah, but it would only last like 24 hours or something, and then you have to solar.
Yeah, right, but have it, fully charged as much as you can. Now, this will not, see how we do here.
What provisions have you thought of to support?
Anyway, I've had multiple, including $5,000 solar panels and generators, and
Excuse me, is everybody hearing Carol?
No, not really.
Okay, she says she's had multiple solar.
because of Florida hurricanes, where we needed for 3 weeks at a time every summer. And you'll charge it up, it'll last about 4 hours. For a $5,000 one.
For a $5,000 solar panel, it'll last 4
I
hours.
gave everything away when I moved here, but a couple months ago, I called a different legitimate company, more legitimate than I would have expected. I said to them point blank, I do not even have a patio. I said, I've heard on TV that the generators will work through a window. He said, no, you should not buy one. You don't have outdoor access.
Okay, all right. That's not good news.
Where I've always done mine outdoor with Florida sun, and you don't get any better than that.
Yes,
So,
okay.
and he said, do not even waste your money.
Don't waste your money, this person told Carol.
You don't have outdoor access for your solar panel.
Yeah, it has to have outdoor access for your solar panel to make it usable.
I have a truck. Could I put it in the bed of my truck?
Yes, absolutely. Plus, people won't see it that way.
People won't see it if you have it in your truck too, isn't
More
it?
generators were stolen than anything after hurricanes.
Mhm.
That means you never want a gas generator either,
No.
because they will be stolen first in the night. Your solar one, you still want to walk around it, because people will drive or walk around looking to see who has generators.
So generators are gonna be stolen if possible, so we've gotta make precautions. Solar panels also. Yes. Okay, anything else? Any other question?
Yeah,
Before we go
I
into
have
our
one.
panel, the table talk?
Yeah, so this is for Randy. So Randy, you mentioned that you would do, show proposals to leadership. It sounds like we need power, sustainable power. I'm just wondering, what you would need, on a proposal.
Yeah. There you go.
Well, I think we need to be realistic, first of all. When it comes to solar power, I'm not an expert, although I do know that we don't even have enough roof space to cover all the solar panels that we would need to power this 500,000 square foot building. So when we're looking at power, we have to have a mindset to know what is it that we want, right? There's no way that we'd be able to power this whole building with everything, with all the lights on and everything. So we'd have to look at, okay, what is it that we want to power?
Refrigerator.
If it's refrigerators, those type of things, that's what we would have to look at. I would be more of wanting to see, okay, for those emergency provisions, how can we keep them safe, right? And also, keep them going, like medication, those type of things. And then to have low lighting. You don't need lots of bright lights. We look at more like low lights, even your low ampage lighting, that can provide security for the, for the outside of the building and those type of things. When you're in an emergency situation, you're not gonna have your apartment lit up like you were before. You're gonna learn how to adapt on low lighting. When I was, when I was a deputy, I worked nights for many, many years, and I got used to low lighting. I didn't use lights a lot. I let darkness really became my friend. I could move around, I could do things in the dark. I didn't want people to see me. So we are going to have to adapt in ways. We're going to have to learn and know that we are going to have to adapt. So when you're talking lighting, you have to have a whole different mindset than what you do today, because it's going to be different. So you have to think different. So even lighting your apartment, you could look at lighting your apartment with very low voltage, using low voltage lights like Christmas lights and those type of things.
And candles.
And I'm not a big proponent for candles just for the safety, but when it comes down to it, candles do provide, and there's ways that we can help with that. But just to answer your question, I think that's something that really has to be looked at and really talked about realistically. What is it that we're looking for power? What is it we're looking for it to do, right? Before I can really answer that question, right?
What is,
Just a second,
I believe, Randy, when we were talking before, you had made a statement that we need to think about those who are on oxygen, they're diabetic, or they have special needs, that we have sufficient power to take care of the health emergency needs of the people that are affected. So that should be one of the priorities, to look at that example of how do we make sure that these people with medical conditions have the power they need for their power equipment.
Great point, great point. Okay, something else?
Mary.
Mary, yes.
I just wanted to know about, my husband was telling me a little bit about the flashlights that are solar-powered flashlights. And that could be our lighting at night, if we, put them out and get them charged up or something during the day. And that could be a big source of lighting, wouldn't it? Or lanterns. Somebody said something about lanterns also. They have solar-powered lanterns that we can purchase. So does anybody know anything about that, or pricing or anything?
So there's all kinds of brands out there for the lights, for the flashlights or the lanterns. There's some anywhere from $19.99 to $49.99. So you just have to choose which one you'd want. Have an LED. I would really recommend to have backup bulbs. Even with LEDs, things can happen where your bulbs go out. So, but that's a great resource for light, because we usually have sun, so we could get into place. Another thing too, very inexpensive. If you go to Lowe's, you go to Home Depot, you can go to their garden section, and they have the landscaped lights. How many have seen those? Just the landscape lights. Those things actually produce quite a bit of light. If you were to put some of those out, I've even seen them at the Dollar Tree before. You put those out, it's not anything expensive. Again, we have to have a different mindset when it comes to lighting, because in an emergency situation, we're going to have to adapt. So you're going to have enough light that you're going to be able to move around, you're going to be able to move around safely in your apartment, and then also, too, it does help for security. So you don't have to think big cost. We just have to think, okay, what is it my needs are, and how can I, take care of these needs? So they even have Lowe's. It's a really good one. It's actually a mounted wall one, and they run about $5. And you can put those even out on your patio. especially whatever morning, afternoon, wherever you have the sun coming, and you can put those out on your patio, and then during the day, you could have them in your apartment in the evening, and they have little brackets that you can just set them on, and that'll give you, light too. And those are about $5. They're like little flat-looking panels. Some of them are a little curved, but there's a lot of different options out there that don't cost a lot of money.
Can you pass that down?
One second. Okay, Randy, would you please give the name of that particular?
I don't know the name.
Oh.
You can buy them at Lowe's, you can buy them at Home Depot. I like to shop Lowe's, but you might go to Home Depot, Ace. I've even seen them in the Dollar Tree before. I've seen them in Dollar General, where they have like the garden section at Dollar General, that they'll have the ones for the garden and stuff. But then they have the ones that I'm talking about there for the patio. They're actually called patio lights.
Patio lights.
Yeah.
Pass it down. Lisa wanted to have something.
I have a kerosene lantern. Is that something that would be allowed here?
Kerosene?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the old fashioned, what you see in all the Western movies, the kerosene lantern. I have one of those.
I'm just going to just keep safety in mind with whatever you're doing. Just keep that in mind. All right, we don't want to cause another problem because we have a problem, right? So if we have no lights, we don't want to cause a problem with a fire, because now we're going to have to deal with a fire. So, just keep that in mind when you're prepping, when you're getting ready, or if an emergency does, or when it does happen.
Buy a lot of batteries, too. That should be on your list, too.
I got 2 lanterns last time when we had the preppy, and mine are battery operated, and they work really good.
So, yeah, we could buy a lot of batteries. That's good.
We have one of those Coleman stoves, camp stoves that run on the little, what do you call them, the little propane containers. But I guess you can't have them in the building. Where could we store them?
Well, storing propane, you gotta realize it's a gas, so we gotta think safety again. So you don't wanna just store them in your apartment. They can be combustible. So if you did have some type of fire or something, you just could add to that. I don't know if any of you have ever seen a propane tank explode before. It can be pretty nasty. So to be fair to me, I will have to look into that to see if there's actually a solution. If there is a place that we can store them, I don't even know if there is a place. But those are an option. If you have like a truck or something like that, you could store them there. If you have a storage unit outside of property, you would have to look at the rules of that storage unit. Some places allow them, some don't. But I will have to look into that, ma'am.
Yes. Time is ticking away. It's 4:45, and Carol, could it wait? Could you discuss it? It can't wait. Oh, no problem. Okay.
All right, so you know what? Maybe people can come up for popcorn prayer right now instead of you. So maybe we can do the popcorn prayer right now. If you have something urgent or a question, you could come up and just make it like 1 minute. So if you want to line up.
We did, keep in mind, we did want to have a little bit of interaction at the tables.
Yes,
and time is ticking away. But go ahead, Sharon, you had your hand up.
Sure.
Yes.
Follow-up question on the propane that we don't need to go into it now if you all want to go into it later. You're not going to have an immediate answer.
Bruce, did you have a pop-up?
This is Sawyer truck.
Oh,
does 100,000 gallons, about $20.
Wow.
And a couple of months ago, there was a couple here from Florida, and they have something called thirst relief that they are putting in all the third world countries, and it filters some of the worst
Awesome.
waters that there are, and they're like $250, and I think they last 10 years.
Wow.
So, something to look into. If anybody wants to take a picture of that with their phone or this to look into the thirst relief, there's thirstrelief.org. You can look up yourself. So,
Thank you.
there you go.
Thank you, Bruce. Okay, so Sharon, were you going to come up and, no?
Hey, John.
Yes.
That's what those cards are for. That's
Go
what
ahead and explain
That's what
the
the cards are for, honey. So if you guys could, write your questions or your desires or your comments on the card and drop it in the white basket right there by the table on your way out. And that way we'll
We'll give them like 10 minutes
put
and
your
then
name and phone number on there too, if you would, so that we can
John,
contact
do you want me to say it into the microphone or just tell you?
We'll definitely have
Let's have
answers
the
for
captain
anything
stand up
and
after
everything.
and
Next-
present with
our
their
next
table.
meeting,
Yeah,
whatever that is.
that's what we'll have
So
to do.
John will tell us.
Okay, now the cards, every table has cards, Mary, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Everybody
All right, now we want to have a follow-up meeting, but AJ says that we can't have it here next week. So I think we're going to, let's see a show of hands. How many of you can have computers that can get on a Zoom call? I'd like to see a show of hands. That's getting more and more, oh boy. Yeah, that's good. I think the majority here. I think we're going to have a Zoom call.
Maybe buddy up with somebody that.
Yes. Yes.
Well, we're going to have another follow-up meeting.
Yeah, we'll have a follow-up, in person, but since we can't meet here next week, I think it'd be good if we had a Zoom call.
And then
Would 3 to 5, the same schedule next Wednesday, work on a Zoom call?
and then we're going to
Let's see. Okay, how many? Okay, how do I take this? How many could not do it next Wednesday from 3 to 5 on a Zoom call? Raise your hands. It's easier to.
Yeah, let's just do the table time and then can you send everybody out the Zoom information if they can get on? Then they can get on?
Yeah, but right. As long as we have your email address and secondarily a phone number, then we can send out the information by email. Email is preferred. Okay, so your email address, make sure we have yours and your phone numbers. Okay, so Adrian, go ahead. Your suggestion was a good one about how to kind of wrap this up.
All right. So it's time for table time. You guys have the questions there that John already read. And then if you want to discuss them, pray about them at your table. Then if there's any specific interest that one person has, say hydroponics or power or whatever, water or food, or even the dehydrators, then write it on your card and please remember to put your email on that list and your phone number so we can let you know about future events. And also, right now with the table time, if you guys want to just pray amongst your table and then come up with those ideas, those three questions, and then have your team captain, after like 10 minutes, we're going to have the team captains just stand up and summarize what you guys came up with at your table.
And where are the people supposed to put their cards? Mary, did you say a white basket?
Yes.
I don't see the.
It's sitting right there.
Oh yeah, okay, I do. It's a small basket, but it's big enough. Right on the black, the table covered with the black.
Yeah, it's over.
So put your cards in there after you fill them up when you leave, please. So yes, now is the table time. You have your captains. So go ahead.